Hi everybody, welcome to another Spectrum Economics video. Today I'm going to be talking about auctions. But before I get into that, I just want to tell you that I did a blog, I think it was about 2 months ago, that went into quite a bit of detail, and that was up on Steemit. And this video here is going to be dedicated to DTube rather than YouTube, though it'll be on YouTube as well, so for some of you, you'd still want to watch it. But I've got a much larger following now on Steemit and the Steam platform than I actually do on YouTube. So I'm going to be focusing my attention more on DTube side of it rather than YouTube. So anyway, let's get back to the video. So what do I mean by auction? So probably a lot of you thinking, when you think auction, you think of the English auction, right? Or you just call it auction, but it's actually an English auction. So what's that all about? So imagine you have an item. Take for example, this item here, Teddy Ruxpin. A classic design Teddy Ruxpin. Not in great condition, probably isn't worth much, but imagine this is a very fancy, very cool Teddy Ruxpin, and a lot of people want to bid on it. So what would happen is you'd have a starting price, so let's say $300. $300! Anybody for Teddy Ruxpin? $300. $300, Teddy Ruxpin. Sir, over there, sir, what is that? $350, $350. Lady in the blue hat. What's that? $400, $400. Sir in the yellow shirt, over there, $500, $500. Anybody else? Ma'am, over there, red hat, $600. Do you have more than $600? $600. Closing, closing. Done. To you, ma'am, red hat. Cash. Oh. Okay. Sorry. Right, so that is what I mean by an English auction, and that's probably what you see in movies and stuff, and stuff that most of us are a little bit more familiar with. Personally, I've only ever been to one auction. I think it was one auction. Yeah, that I can recall at the moment anyway. That was a little bit different, wasn't quite as energetic as that, and hopefully they don't destroy the item that they're trying to sell. But actually, in fact, there are several different types of auctions, and today I want to talk about English auction, number 1. Number 2, I'm going to talk about Dutch auction. Number 3, first sealed bid auction, and number 2, second sealed bid auction. So let's start with the English auction. So what is that? That was pretty much what I explained just now, really. Is you start with a bid and people keep bidding upwards and upwards and upwards, and then eventually you'll get someone winning the auction. And normally that occurs the bid after the second highest, the value of the second highest person. So for example, you could have 50 people in the room. One person values something at, let's say, 1,000. That's the highest value, and there could be someone else that values it at 800. So once it gets up to 800, that person that values it at 800 will stop bidding, and therefore the winner will be, maybe you get like 810 or something, just a little bit over, or maybe even 8 on the dot, who knows. And then they would walk away as the winner. So what about Dutch auction? I've never been to a Dutch auction, by the way, but this is kind of the opposite. So you'd actually start with a high price, and you keep going down and 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 down. And eventually someone will say, stop! And that's what you get. So a different strategy with the Dutch auction, because you'll get to your price and then you're not going to bid straight away. You want to get some value out of it normally. So you'll hang in there and hang in there a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. But you don't want to hang in too long because you don't want someone else to then bid. So we go back to our person who has the value of 1,000 for that item. So it gets down to 1,000. So let's say it starts at 1,005, goes down to 1,000. They probably will not jump in immediately and say stop. They probably want to see that drop a little bit lower first. But they want to get in before 800, assuming that they know the next person has a value of 800, which they probably don't. No, normally, we don't know exactly what other people value sort of things. We all have our different values, but we know how we value at. And that's, I'll explain a little bit later what we'll call a common value auction, but this one is a private value auction, so we know how much something is worth to us. So how about standard sealed bid auction? So what is that all about? So that is what happens is, normally you write your bid down on a bit of paper. So we have our Teddy Ruxpin. So I value it at 1,000. Do you write 1,000? Tend to not to, because what happens with the standard sealed bid auction is that the person who wins pays the price they write on their piece of paper in the sealed envelope. So you'd actually want to put a slightly lower value in there than actually what you want to pay. So if it's 1,000, maybe you'll say I'll put in 900, or maybe you'll say I'll put in 700. You don't want to go too low. Like, again, you don't want someone getting above you. You don't want to go too high either, because then you lose what we call consumer surplus. And that is basically the additional value that you get above and beyond what you're paying. So you want to get a balance in there. So it's difficult to know exactly. There's some risk involved. How about a second price sealed bid auction? So this, again, it's similar. You put it inside a piece of paper, you write whatever it is. So go with our dear Teddy Ruxpin again. So if you value it 1,000, this is easy. You just put 1,000 because you don't pay 1,000, you pay the next highest bid. And in many ways, in terms of how that functions, is actually very, very similar to the English auction. And the Dutch auction is more like similar to the standard sealed bid auction. So you can see there's some similarities between the two. So again, your strategies will vary, but generally, if you win the bid, you will be gaining some sort of surplus. So it's better off to win than it is to lose. But win by how much though? And that's where the whole risk side comes into it. So I've just drawn up a little table here comparing the English, the Dutch, the standard sealed bid auction and the second price auction in terms of various areas. So you can focus on the risk side of it. So the English auction and the second sealed bid auction, the risk is far more minimal because you don't have to guess or predict what other people are bidding or how other people value things because you know your own value. And the English auction in particular, everything is very transparent. You can hear the bidding as it goes up and up. So there's less risk in that. Whereas you're talking about the Dutch auction and the standard sealed bid auction, if people are very, very risk averse, then they're going to put a value very, very near to what they are, how they value it. So if you value that Teddy Ruxpin at 1,000, let's say, maybe you'll put in 990. So when you've got very risk averse people, you'll have a tendency of, I'd say, the sellers benefiting. So if you've got a very, very risk averse audience, Dutch and standard sealed bid auctions could be very, very beneficial. But also, it could go the other way as well. Especially if people know what each other's values are, and then you can make some arrangement, just, you know, like the Dutch auction, just let it go down and down and down and down and down, and effectively, potentially, you can lose a lot of money because no one stops the bidding. So there'll probably be a minimum bidding price in there. So you start at 1,500, then it would go down to maybe 700, and then you'd close the auction, there wouldn't be a sale. So there's risk to it that side as well. So that's probably why the English auction is actually so popular, because it is so transparent, and it's also, it's less risky as well. You kind of know what's going on, and you know once your value is up and that's it, and there's less risk to both sides, the person selling and the person buying. Alright, so what's common value auction? So what I mentioned so far is you know how much, basically you know your value for something, should I say. So you see the Teddy Ruxpin, you know that, hey, that's worth 1,000 to me. Someone else it's 600, someone else it's 300, etc, etc, etc. You know that because you know exactly what it is. But what in the case of, there's an envelope, mystery envelope, and that contains a certain amount of money, but no one knows what that is. So in the case of that, so if let's say it contains $1,000, everyone would value that at $1,000. But nobody knows exactly what that is. It could be $2, or it could be $20,000, it could be $1 million, you don't know. So it's a mystery, and that seems a bit odd, doesn't it? I mean, you know, does this thing actually take place? And there are a few occasions where it does. And like, for example, you have people bidding on the unknown. Like, I think there was a show, I can't remember the name of it is now, where there's these unclaimed containers, and they contain a certain amount of stuff, a whole load of stuff, and I think they're given like a few minutes to just have a very, very quick look, but not a sufficient amount of time to really evaluate how much is in there. So there is a risk that you could be buying something that could be worthless. You don't know, it could be a real gem. So these sort of auctions, and generally people would have a similar sort of value for it in terms of you getting it so you can resell. So that's your sort of common value auction. Alright, that takes me to the end of today's video. For my YouTube supporters, remember to click subscribe, and also to, click subscribe and like. And to my YouTube followers, I think that is follow, and also upvote would be great if you enjoyed this video. I've got many other videos as well, and if you're on Steemit, I've also got many other blogs and posts. Like I mentioned about auctions, I've got that in the link below, so you can actually click on that for the write-up on that one as well. But I also like to put in my video presentations too, just to give things just a little bit of a spin. And a number of other areas I'm looking into as well. I've got my vegan economics series. I just completed 5 areas of abuse written up in Steemit. I've also got my economic concept series going on as well, so I've got different goods and different curves and stuff. And I've also got my game theory series as well, just getting going, and I'm going to be doing more videos on that as well. So if any of this interests you, like I said, remember to follow, and if you enjoyed this particular video, I would be very grateful if you could give me an upvote. Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll be seeing you soon. Ta-da!